I want to be posted back to Barbados. I want a house, a car, a cook. You can't do that. You'll never get this done. I said, well, so don't tell me that's like a rag bull, red rag to a bull. Here's the thing, and I know your next question. Why did you get into vitamins?
Today on the Red Couch, I'm honored to have my very special guest in Dr. Nicholas Kelly, who I call Nick. And you all know him perhaps as Mr. Nature's Discount. But today we're going to talk about Nick Kelly, the person, and his journey here on the Red Couch. So Nick, welcome to Capital Media and to the Red Couch.
Thank you. I'm honored to be with such an icon in the industry.
Well, then let's say there are two icons, because you certainly are one. So today we want to talk a little bit about you and how you built this, this brand, because this is not a brand that you inherited. This is a brand that you built from the ground up. But we want to come to that. But tell me a little bit about Nick Kelly. Who is Dr. Nicholas Kelly? What about your journey, your early childhood, and so on? Let's start there.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Oh wow is right.
How much time you got?
Enough.
I don't remember. I mean, I was born in Trinidad because my father was in shipping at the time.
You were born in Trinidad.
I am a Trini.
Well. Now look at how I have learned something that I never even knew. Born in Trinidad, I would never have thought that.
Yeah, it was Hurricane Flora was heading to Trinidad end of September. Mm-hmm. And my mother was rushed off to hospital, and they said if I'm a girl, they're going to call me Florrie. So good thing I wasn't a girl. So we left Trinidad about 6 months later because long story with him, but he went aboard a company in Antigua. So we moved to Antigua for 3 years. And then at the end of 3 years, while he was in Antigua, he turned around shipping goods from America to the Caribbean, selling goods, factoring goods, where you get salesmen on the ground, they go around selling to everybody in the islands. Yeah. Then they basically sell to order.
Oh yeah, I knew some people who did that kind of work when I was,
Big time back then, because you didn't have to have a warehouse or anything. You just get the orders, the company ships it straight down. Now, he was in shipping with bookers, right?
You spent your first 4 years virtually then in Antigua.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then when we came here, I went to St. Gabriel's, and when I was 7, the British High Commission shipped me off to England to boarding school, where my 5-year-old is now, the same school, which is cool.
Oh, that must be cool.
Yeah, it is very cool. My mother lives around the corner from there now. And in 1976, when I was 13, my parents got divorced. My father went to work for the European Union, who didn't care he was Jewish, and they made him an ambassador. And he came back here a year later and became the first delegate for the European Union in Barbados. So we came back to Barbados. Basically, I had 1 year in Trinidad, went from 13 or 14 to 15, and that was it. And I came back to Barbados, and I grew up in Barbados. My whole life, really, from 4 to 17, 18 was in Barbados. When I was 17, I finished school in England and finished my A-levels, and got a job in London with Barclays International, because I went to the interview, said, why do you want to work for Barclays International? I said, well, I want to be posted back to Barbados. I want a house, a car, a cook.
Exactly what my dad had.
And the guy scratching, he goes, those days are gone. Think again. I said, well, I'll work it out. And so I started with BBI, and I did 5 years working with the bank, but after 2 years working with the bank, I realized it wouldn't pay me enough to buy the car I wanted. So I was buying all these...
But what car you had your eyes on at that?
Well, I'd grown up with Mercedes and BMWs because I'd grown up with the embassy cars, and they were always decent cars, And I couldn't bring myself... I like all cars. I love cars, right? Cars are one of my main hobbies, I would say. I just love driving and I love cars.
So how many years did you spend then in the UK working?
Well, I was working, so after a couple of years, I wanted a better car, and I started a company, started a laundry. I started doing shirts. I basically started taking in, I loved doing my laundry and ironing, and I was sharing at that point a 1-bedroom apartment in Westminster with my brother. He had the bedroom, I had the living room. We had a kitchen that was 6 by 8, and we had a bathroom that was 5 by 4.
6 by 8.
It was tiny.
That's really tiny.
And in that kitchen, there was a washing machine. But an English washing machine is a little hole in the wall, right? You're going to take 10 shirts if you're lucky. So that's all I had. And I went around, I was working in the city of London, and I walked around Bank Station with little flyers that said, S-E-X, in massive letters, S-E-X. And in little writing underneath it went, now I've got your attention, I can do your shirts. Get them back to you tomorrow for 50p. I will wash them, iron them by hand, and get them back to you tomorrow in crispy, perfect condition the next day for 50p. And every single person I gave them to gave me their shirts. They called me and gave me their shirts. 228-2201 was my number. That's all it was, sex, and the number you could see from a distance. The rest of it was about the shirts. And I called it collars and cuffs because all I did was shirts, and all I really focused on was the collars and the cuffs. That's what people wanted. They wanted to look smart, right? Actually, just
So you wash them in the machine.
So my brother was like, "What are you?"
So how do you dry them? How do you?
To hang them up. We used to have lines down the little hallway, lines across the bathroom, lines in the kitchen. Like you'd have to push through the shirts in the evening, and the smell was awful. It was terrible. I did that for a year, you know.
But you made some money.
I made some money.
Nick, tell me now about because you shifted away from banking. You obviously relocated at some point to Barbados.
Well, yeah. I mean, I got more and more disillusioned with the banking because it was taking away from my own businesses. After a little hiatus, I set up a magazine company, which, cut a long story short, I gave away just before we launched it, but I set it all up and gave it away to my friend who worked at the Financial Times, and he called it Loot, which was a magazine, it's like a newspaper on Financial Times paper, and you could advertise anything in it you wanted, and it was all free. The idea, it was different because Exchange and Mart was the big thing to sell things in, and you had to pay to list it. And as a young, broke banker, I couldn't afford to pay to list my video recorder or whatever. So I thought there should be a newspaper where you can advertise for free, and people buy the newspaper for £1, or you get advertising in it and you make your money. And we set it up, and I was told by the bank, you can't do that, you'll never get this done. I said, well, so don't tell me that's like a rag bull, red rag to a bull. So I got it done. I set John Menzies, John Meggies, everybody said to distribute it, WH Smith would sell it, but it all set up. I got offices in Victoria Street, and I worked on this for 6 months.
Well, how do you make money from it?
Advertising. We sold it. We was going to sell for 10p or 20p, like the newspaper, and we had advertising. We had all these advertising slots.
But people advertise their stuff for free?
The people, regular man in the street, could absolutely free. So the businesses would take out ads in.
Okay, got it.
And it was tremendously successful, but it would have been a bit too much work, and I knew nothing about the publishing industry or anything. So my friend at the Dominic Gill, he knew all about it. He said, I'll take it over for you, no problem. How much do you want for it? I said, no, honestly, it's a startup that I did for fun with another friend, another Nick. And we just said, well, just run with it, take it, do it. Here's the thing, and I know your next question. Why did you get into vitamins?
Well, that's where I went. It sounded to me like juicing was really...
It was doing very well, but it was really hard work. 7 days a week. I was squeezing, I was bottling, I was washing the bottles, I was delivering at 6 o'clock in the morning to Sandy.
I got one question before you go on. Do you like orange juice?
I drank half.
You still like orange juice?
I still do, and I loved it. I drank half of it myself.
Yeah.
So I 2 years later, about a year later, I ran out of royal jelly because I used to buy it in Plantation at the mall for $20 a bottle. I ran out, so I wrote to the company and I said, I really need to buy the stuff. I can't get on a plane anymore. I'm too busy to get on a plane. Could you send me the price list? And I'd like to buy a case. They sent me a price list, and the export price of that $20 bottle was $3.50. So I said, wait a minute, I could ship this in, could pay the duty, mark it up 50%, sell it to Lewis, who will mark it up 40%. It'll still be cheaper than it is in the States. So I said, send me 3 cases. So they sent me 3 cases, and I went down to Alan Lewis and I said, I want you to sell royal jelly. He goes, what's that? He said, no, we have this one here, Regina by from Knights, and it's $50 a bottle. So mine's going to be $36 for 100. This is $50 for 30. All right, I'll take 3, see how it goes. Called me the next day, said, send me a case, and then I started selling royal jelly like that just because I wanted it. And then a couple of months later, somebody from Starcom called me and said, you need to do a radio ad. So I made a radio ad. And then somebody from the newspaper called me and said, you need to do an article on this, I'll help you, and do the full page thing. And they just told me what to do. I didn't plan anything. And it snowballed. It really escalated into a massive business. I was running it from home. And then I got the dreaded call about a year later, 2 years later, got a call from the company. So I've got some news for you. I went, oh no, it's all going to end, you know. And I was working still with the juice factory, selling this royal jelly on the side. And by now I got Breath Assure under my wing, because Breath Assure was doing really well. But they were being sued as well by the Mint company. So I basically took the call and they said, we've been bought by a large company. I went, oh no. I said, no, it's all right. The reason they bought our company is because of you. I went, what? He says, yeah, because you're our #1 export customer. So what? We export all around the world, but you're our #1 export customer. And they thought, if you could do that with royal jelly, imagine what you could do with 350 products from Solaray.
Wow.
That's what I said. I said, well, okay. So the president of the company wants to come and meet you, and they're flying down in a couple of weeks. Okay. So I don't know anything about these things. So the president came down, and he said, don't worry about it, we'll educate you. You'll know soon enough. He was the president of the Herbal Foundation of America. They had a medical doctor, Dr. Barney, was on staff. He said he would be under his wing, he'll train you. And long story short, I ended up in a naturopathic position, and because of Dr. Barney and all the herbalists I was surrounded by, and I had to learn what I was selling, you know.
But you built the business, and then a few years later you sold the business.
Yeah, well, I mean,
and then you bought it back.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for 8 years I just distributed, and I was owed so much money by the customers in Bridgetown that I decided to open my own store in Bridgetown. And I didn't. After I opened the first store, within a couple of months, somebody came in from Aruba, said we would like one of these. So again, nothing was really planned. I had to really decide to spend all my money on opening that store in Bridgetown, and it was a big risk, but it paid off. And then someone asked me to open up in Sunset Crest, and everybody kept asking me to open stores all over the place, you know. And it wasn't my plan, it was just them.
Finally, I want to bring you to the future and ask you, well, what's in the future? You also have your buying service, your online...
Calmart, yeah. Calmart was born...
out of COVID. Yeah. But you provided a platform where you pretty much anything you wanted, you know, you supplied and you delivered it. How is that going now today?
That was tripped up by the people supplying us becoming very inefficient. If we had a massive warehouse and we knew what people wanted, we had that. AI is going to help with that, right? When we know what people want and we could bring it and have it ready to deliver now, like Amazon's done with Prime and so on, that'll work. So it's going, but we have cut back the offering to what we have in stock. We don't no longer buy from local people, because unless we have one or two suppliers that are very efficient and we work with them. But generally speaking, all the others we had to cut off because they were ruining our reputation. And so we had to sort of cut it back a lot and start again. And then we started for a while, we worked out every delivery was costing $45. So we started charging like 10 for delivery just to help. Then people got annoyed that they were being charged to delivery, so we offered a membership where they could get free delivery like Prime, and a few people took it up. But it's a long way to go to get to where we need to get to.
Well, Nick, thank you very much for being my guest. Dr. Nicholas Kelly of the Kelly Group. We all know of Nature's Discount, you know of Calmart, and all of the brands that he has established over the years and all the advice that he has given, his expertise and knowledge. It really has been a fascinating chat here with you on the Red Couch, and I want to thank you for being our very special guest here.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Nick Kelly, Dr. Nicholas Kelly, my special guest today on the Red Couch.